I am beyond, I'm going to fangirl. I'm going to seriously fangirl for a minute because I love you. I'm obsessed with you, Holly Holm. You are
I'm pumped to be here.
You are okay. We're seriously thinking about getting an RV and driving across country, and I'm coming to New Mexico to just do a workout with you and party with you because you are you're just beyond a star. You're amazing.
100%. If you go cross country, come to New Mexico.
Well, we got the invite.
Did you grew up in New Mexico, right? You lived there your whole life?
Born and raised. So Albuquerque's where I'm at now, but I was born and raised in Bosque Farms. It's 20 minutes.
Oh my God.
It's not far. It's just where, ditch banks and pastures and stuff are more country.
I told you yesterday when we were talking, it's same thing on the opposite side of the country, right? I'm in Maine. It's just cow field after cow field. So I hear ya. Small town girl.
I like it though. I like it.
Yeah. So no, you never want to move to LA, huh?
I mean, if I moved there, it would have to be certain opportunities, or it would have to be maybe not in the middle of LA, maybe closer to just be by the water. Maybe beach. Then I'd have to be able to afford that.
Okay, well, in the meantime, I guess we'll have to keep fighting, right? Until then. Obviously, everyone knows you as fabulous MMA champion and UFC fighter. We're going to get into all that, but I really wanted to have you on the show because you are so inspiring to women, just the way you carry yourself, how you persevere through challenges, through wins and losses, and I just can't wait to kind of have you give advice to other women on how you do it, year after year, day after day. So you actually started, when did you realize that you wanted to get into MMA fighting? Was it when you were 16, 17? Were you that young?
Well, okay. So when I was about 16, 17, I wanted to wrestle. And back then, a lot of girls weren't wrestling. There was no girls on the team. And my parents were like, we don't really know if we want you to be the only girl on the wrestling team. They just weren't really sure about it. And I'm sure if I would have really pushed for it, they would have let me, because anything that I put my heart to, they supported. But I didn't really go out of my way to push it too hard. And then in between soccer seasons, I started going to a cardio kickboxing class. And so the more I started kind of doing the classes, after the cardio part was over, people would come in and spar, and they had the technique classes going. And I thought, that kind of looks like fun, so I wanted to try it. So I started going to some of the sparring classes. And then I just told my coach, which is Mike Winklejohn. That's the gym I walked into just by chance, and been my coach to this day. I just said, I want to fight. I don't know if I'm ready. So just whenever you think I'm ready, let me know. And eventually he just came up to me and was like, hey, there's going to be some smoker fights in town. We can get you a girl to fight. You want to do it? I was like, sure. And I thought I was going to do it one time just to see what it was like. And I actually don't consider this my first fight. It was, but it wasn't. It was a girl that weighed less than me, but she had 20 fights, and I had never fought, so they call it, an exhibition fight. And so on the way down there, my coach picks me up and he's like, hey, they're going to be telling you this is an exhibition and don't go hard, but they always say that shit. So I don't know.
Yes, curse. We curse all the time. No, we're trying to be polite for you, but oh my God, we curse like sailors. No, please. We're so inappropriate.
Anyway, so I was like, he's like, they always say that, so you need to just go out there and just go off on her, because she's had 20 fights. I don't care if she weighs less than you, she's experienced, so you need to go off on her. So I was like, okay, so the fight's getting ready to start, and they're like, all right, this is an exhibition. We were in the ring, it's like this old gym down on the 4th Street here, and they were like, you need to go live, this is an exhibition. I was thinking in my head, he said they'd say that, he said that. And so then the fight starts, and I just go crazy. And the other team throws in the towel, and they were like, this is ridiculous. This is an exhibition. She's going too hard. And I was like, oh. So I went back to the corner. They called the fight. And and Mr. Winklejohn was like, oh, sorry about that. And he goes, and then quietly he's like, hey, good job.
Wow.
If I had the fight in me. But it really wasn't my first fight. Because it was one combo, and they were like, no. My first fight was Arizona, and he told me, I think this girl knows how to pace herself. And I was like, all right. And she was kind of big. So the fight goes, it was a draw, and it was a battle. And then afterwards, he's like, "Oh, she was the Arizona State champ. Like, good job." I was like, "Thank God he didn't tell me before." But he's one of those that I think if he sees the potential, he wants to just believe in you. And the more he believes in you, the more it's like you believe in yourself. And so, anytime since then that he's like, "We can do this," I'm like, "Okay, we can do it."
Yeah, Mike sounds great. Actually, we want to see if we can hire him as a motivational coach, like when you're done, because he seems amazing.
He is awesome. I'll tell you what, he's great. He's one of those, he's no bullshit at all. Like, there's no gray area with him. He'll tell you where he stands. It's perfect because you don't have to worry about anything, wondering what he's thinking or what he's going. Like, if he's telling you he believes you can do it, he really means it. He's not just trying to be your yes man or anything like that. You can't have that in fighting. It's great if it's not.
Now, you two have been together, though. I mean, it must be like 18 years, right? If not more.
Yeah, 20 years.
That's amazing. So, I mean, I'm assuming he's evolved too, because obviously MMA, like you were saying, that you have a jiu-jitsu coach, there's kickboxing, there's so many different things. So how have you two kept that relationship growing and thriving all these years?
I think the biggest thing is that there is no bullshit. It's straight up.
He just
would stop blending. Like, he just tells me how it is. And if you want to be there to work, he'll work with you. And he's one of those that's always trying to learn, always trying to evolve. So all my amateur fights, there was like 8 amateur fights, and then I turned pro pretty quickly. But all my amateur fights were kickboxing. And then I was having a hard time finding any fights. And so there was a promoter in town, Lenny Fresquez, who is now my manager. But he was throwing fights in town. It was just boxing, and it was pro. And my coach was like, "Well, there's going to be boxing fights in town, and we can get you on it." I was like, "Okay, I've never just boxed before, but let's do it." And he's like, "And it's going to be pro." And I was like, "That means I can't go back." But once again, if he believes I can do it, it was, I know he knew better than me. And my entire boxing career was with him. And he was a kickboxing background for the most part. He had boxing fights as well, professional boxing fights and titles and everything. So I remember in an interview one time, like a live interview after a fight, and I just won a big fight with a girl who had trained with him, out at Big Bear, and had all the big names coaching her. And like, have you ever thought about getting, like a real boxing coach? A real boxing coach?
Yeah.
I was offended. I said, I just won the fight. So what title's for a real boxing coach?
Yeah, I have one. Thank you. Well, I was going to say.
What are you talking about? But with him, he's always evolved with things. And going into MMA, he joined, him and Coach Jackson put their brains together. And he's constantly learning and evolving and putting the strikes together to apply to MMA. And then we also have the wrestling coach, coming in. And some wrestling coaches come in and they only want you to do kind of strict wrestling. But not all wrestling moves really necessarily work in MMA when you're adding kicks and punches and knees and things like that. So they all just really work together, and that's what makes it so great.
Well, the loyalty is amazing, because I imagine over the years, as you grew in UFC, you've probably been approached by many coaching teams to join them. And so it's impressive that you two have stayed together and grown.
If I felt that I was missing something here, and it's my career, trust me, I want to do the best I can for it, then I would have branched out or reached out, but I never needed to. And I just was very fortunate. A lot of people spend half their career trying to find a good coach or a good gym. And a lot of those people are the ones that are coming into our gym and finally finding that, that's the best place to be. And I was just so fortunate to walk into his gym to do cardio kickboxing classes. And it just happened to work out that way. And I was just really blessed to be in, with the best coaching since the beginning. And doesn't mean that I don't want to learn from other people or learn from other styles. We learn from watching film, and even my coach, he says, if you got something cool to show me.
Yeah.
He's not too prideful about it. And I've just, I have a loyalty there. And I'll tell you what, my coaches are loyal to me as well. They stand by my side, because it goes both ways. A lot of coaches sometimes are kind of looking for their own glory out of a lot of things, or their own selfish reasons. And our coaches truly want you to do well. They truly want you to win selflessly.
I think this is always an interesting part of your story. You know, you grew up, your father's a preacher. I mean, when your parents first came to a boxing match, right, and they see you get like a shiner, I mean, did they like freak out? Did you grow up like a fighter? I mean, I think it's amazing they supported you, because I don't know if I could sit there and watch my daughter get hit and be like, okay, keep going.
And did they support you starting off? Like, were they totally okay with it from the start?
You know, when I said I wanted to start fighting, they were like, well, you wanted to wrestle in high school. You want to, like, they're like, you obviously want to do something super physical. So if that's what you got in you and that's what you want to do and that's what's on your heart, then do it. And they supported it. My mom doesn't like to watch the fights so much. Maybe not necessarily just the physical part, but it's a lot of emotions and everything. Always supported from the get-go. My dad worked all my boxing fights, and they've always supported. And the thing is, they're not sensitive people. You know, my dad grew up on a farm, very tough, like, life, living like that, and being out, being physical. And then my mom grew up in, you know, Wyoming, and hunting and fishing, and, you know, her parents owned a rock shop, so she would go help, like, mine with them and find stones and things like that, and fossils, and hunt, and, you know, do archery. So I wasn't, you know, raised by parents that were they sheltered or city people. They're physical people, and, you know, they're all about taking life and just going with it and owning your own life. So
what is the worst hit you've ever had? Because, I mean, I thought, like, the injury after that Cyborg fight when you had that black eye, it was like, that looked so painful. What's the worst injury?
So I have like 4 main injuries. I've got
this one. Oh my God, girl. How you got up and you're like smiling. Wait, did you lose a tooth too in this fight?
No, that's my tongue. I'm going like,
oh, okay, your tongue. Okay, thank God.
One of the worst pictures ever, but whatever. So the black eye here, it's just pressure. It wasn't painful. I actually thought that cut. And I go like this, and I saw no blood, and I was like, oh, crap, that's a hematoma. It's going to, like, blow up. You know what I mean? It's bleeding, like, inside.
Oh.
And it's not necessarily painful. I didn't have any – there was no – like, you know, a lot of people have broken orbital sockets and things like that, and nothing was wrong with it. It was just – it's blood. It's a big bruise. It's just blown up. But that actually – you know, my hardest hit, I'm going to have to say, was Ann Sophie in boxing. She knocked me out.
Oh.
Like, not just a little, but like hard. And I'd have to say her actual punches were the hardest punches I ever took. I mean, she knocked me out cold, like real bad. But I came back and I beat her in the rematch, so we're good on that.
It's all good. But how long does it take to recover from something like that? So when you get knocked out, I mean, you must have a concussion, right? So I mean, after that, are you down for like a month? It just depends. Like, how does it?
That fight right there. That was the one I was talking about, the Ann Sophie fight that you're showing. You know, that fight, yeah, I took a little time to recover from that fight. Like my fight, I've been knocked out in MMA once, and that was Amanda Nunez a year ago. And that fight was like one clip flash knockout. Wasn't really, you know, like I was standing up and walked out, and like I had no headache. I'm not really even sure if I actually had a concussion. It was just kind of a flash knockout type thing. That one was like, I didn't feel any side effects from it at all. I didn't have any headaches. I didn't have any pain. I didn't have anything like that. But the fight with Ann Sophie, yeah, I had a super headache for a while, and I actually got a scan on my brain, and it had like, it wasn't bleeding, but like a little bit of like blood vessels like pop where there was like a little bruise, right? So however long it takes like a bruise on your arm to go away, that was about how long.
Sure, yeah, a couple weeks to really, for it to go down. So Holly, have you ever worried over the years? I mean, you know, there's so much talk now in media around professional sports and CTE and you know, the long-term effects of concussions. I'm sure in your industry, obviously, you guys are talking about it. How do you deal with that? Do you think about that often?
I don't. I've had a pretty long career, and I guess if I felt like every single fight was like that, then maybe I'd worry about it more. But as for as long as I had and as long as career that I've had fighting, I don't. It's not like a crazy amount of damage that I've taken. I know people that have had big problems from a car wreck or from falling snowboarding or from, there's a lot of things in life that people do. They fall off a horse and horseback riding. Any kind of thing. Yes, there is a higher risk because we're getting in there, but I feel like anything in life, put yourself at risk in some way. You might as well just enjoy and do what you want to do. With making the right decision, if you do feel like, you're getting what we call like punch drunk, then it's time to call it quit. I said there's 3 things that I would quit my career over, and that would be my brain, my eyes, and my spine.
Ooh, yeah.
Bones, ligaments, muscle tears, whatever, that stuff doesn't bother me.
But those would be the big ones. Take us to 2015. Obviously in the fighting world, people knew you before 2015, but it's hard to believe I was saying this to you 5 years ago was the Ronda Rousey fight. But that to me is one of the greatest moments and biggest moments in sports history ever, that fight. I have a million questions about it. Tell us about that fight leading up to it. Obviously you were the underdog. Ronda had been undefeated. Everybody in the UFC world, from Joe Rogan, everybody was betting on Ronda. So what was the preparation like leading up to that fight? Did you turn off all media? Did you give us I want to get in your mind about how you got to that moment?
Well, it kind of started a little bit before. I'm not going to take too long telling you the backstory, but when I was 18, my dad and I were eating lunch, and it was an emotional lunch, not going to go about what it was about. Just a lot of shit was going on in life for both of us. And it was just one of those bonding times. And he's like, I don't know, Holly, but I just feel like sometime in this life, people in this whole world are going to know about you, and you're going to just shock the world. And I just feel like you're going to do something that's going to affect so many lives. And I just feel like it's destiny. And that was one of those, I get chills talking about it now.
I do. You can feel that because that's that was a crazy prediction.
And every time he's like, you're just on your way. You're on your way. It's just going to be destiny. You're on your way. It's going to be destiny. And when I got the fight with Ronda, a lot of people, I only had 2 fights in the UFC, and then they set me up for the fight with Ronda. So it was really short notice. And everybody else is like, oh, awesome. So are we excited about that? Wondering how I felt. And I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. I knew that it was going to go quick. You know what I mean? We felt that going into the UFC, that it was going to be something quick.
And how did you and Mike and your team know that? Just because you obviously probably studied her as an opponent, or how did you feel that?
Well, a lot of that too was just guidance between my manager and my trainer. When we signed the contract, it kind of took a little while because my manager was like, I want them to put a clause in there that if you fight Ronda, it's going to be a different contract that would go by and not your base contract. And he goes, I already know, Holly. He's like, I've been promoting so long. He's like, I already know they want to get you in there, have, some excitement behind your name, and then throw you in for the belt right away. I already know. And so we already had a clause in there that if I fought Ronda, it was a different contract we'd go by. And it was kind of one of those things that were like, you realize you're negotiating a championship bout, and she hasn't even fought in the UFC yet. He's like, well, if you don't think she's going to do it, then just throw it in there. What does it matter, right? Well, when I called my dad about the fight, I was like, all right, I know who my next fight's going to be. He's like, oh, who's that? I'll look him up. And I was like, it's going to be with Ronda. And he goes, oh, it's destiny, baby. It's going to happen. And it was like, everybody else was like, oh my gosh, are you nervous? Are you this? Are you that? And he's just like, yeah, you're going to do it. And
wow.
He's like, it's going to be a lot on you. He goes, but he's like, she's just another woman, Holly, and you have all the tools in the world. And I know you're going to do what it takes, and I know you're going to make it, and it's going to be, and it was really mentally taxing, but some of the stuff that I had to come back from in my boxing fights or my past had helped me prepare for those moments. I had been an underdog a couple times, big underdog in boxing, and it just helped me to know how to deal with a lot of that. And I saw what, media said, and it didn't really bother me much. one thing my dad always said too is like, Holly, a lot of people think like, why me? Like why me to be the one to like shock the world or have a big upset or change? Is like, instead of that, like, why not me? Why can't it be me? And a lot of us do think that way. We think like that all these big things are happening for other people, and it's like we're proud of them. We're like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I like wish that was me. Like, why can't it be me? And so I just kind of kept those mentalities going, and I knew I had to do everything right. I knew that I had to be on my game, and I knew I had to be focused. And it was just one of those things where being around people who believe in me, once again, helped me believe in myself. And I think that that's such a blessing. And a lot of people, I feel like they, in anything in life, hang around people that have like this negative, draining energy. And it's just like, why even choose to be around those people?
And I bet you don't. I bet you surround yourself with a team that, like you said, is why not me all the time. It sounds like your father instilled that in you, very young.
And you know what? In return, I remind myself that I want to be that for other people. When they say I want to do this, it's like, hell yeah. I can go.
Well, you see it because the thing is you are just such a class act, which you don't normally see in sports. There's always like a lot of shit talking usually. And, leading up to that fight, obviously the weigh-in and everything, Rhonda came at you. There was a lot of, discussion about that. There was a lot of discussion that she wouldn't sort of bump, hands with you at the start. So did any of that stuff bother you, or that just like at that point it seems like you were probably mentally in the zone so much and had so much faith and knew your ability?
I liked it. When she came up to me at weigh-ins, it's like, it's real. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh my gosh, she's in my face. It's like, let's go. And she always usually was the one kind of really intense, staring her girls down. And with me, she completely let her emotions get a hold of her. And I loved it. I was like, I'm already under her skin.
Did you know at that weigh-in that you almost had her then? Like, did you just, because there's been a lot of debate, obviously there was a lot of pressure on her. She'd become kind of a celebrity at that point, not kind of, but a big celebrity in Hollywood and done films and all that stuff. So everybody sort of says that moment was the moment at that weigh-in where people really knew you kind of had her, that mentally she was out of it.
I think that people can fight. Okay, so the day before was Ultimate Media Day. And I could tell she was so like some of my first stare-offs, like in amateurs, you don't always get a stare down.
Okay.
Like, weigh in, somebody else shows up to weigh in, you're like in the back room of a gymnasium somewhere, like, it's very unprofessional, like when you first start. And then I remember like some of my first like actual stare downs, like you get the shakes because your adrenaline's kind of going, and you kind of learn how to kind of calm that down because you've been there before. And she's had these like stone cold stare downs, and we had a stare down at the Ultimate Media Day, and I saw her shaking, and I know that she hadn't done that in probably who knows how long. That does not mean that you have somebody. Some people fight really well out of fear. Some people fight very well with emotions. So you never know. Is she coming at me with all of her energy, all of her emotion, or am I in her head in a way that she can break? That can go either way, so it doesn't necessarily mean one thing or the other. All I knew is that I had her and I was under her skin more than she had been. And I wanted to make sure that I stayed with a sound mind and with a focus that was streamlined and not return emotion for emotion.
It was amazing. I mean, okay, so obviously, you win the fight, and that class act moment is the moment where you've won, and I'm sure internally you're like freaking the fuck out, like, I just won this huge deal. Oh my God, right? Your life is changing in that moment. Yet you go over and, kind of kneel down to make sure she was okay. You were like just like the darling after that in media for 2 weeks. How did that feel? Was that like, it just seemed like instinctual. Why did you do that, I guess?
There's right away what we call the adrenaline dump. There's like the initial, it's like the fight's over and I'm like, you can't even explain what that feels like.
Oh, I bet.
That you cannot explain.
It's like the best, it's like beyond being hammered. Like, how you get to that place where you're drunk and it feels really good, you're invincible? It's probably like beyond that.
I tell people all the time, it's the high you can't buy.
Oh, I bet.
Like it's a high that there's nothing in life that duplicates it. Nothing. And then it's like, I did it. Fuck yeah. And then you look at your team and you're like, oh my God, we did it. And then you look out and you see, I see my dad and some of my closest friends, and I'm like, fuck yeah, like these people have been supporting me from the get-go and believing in me. We all did it. And then so like your adrenaline dump goes through, and then it's like, okay, let's be respectful for this person, because that's what it is in martial arts, is being respectful. And you can't have a win that big without having someone who's at that big of a high. I have respect for her. She did a lot. I couldn't have an upset that big and shock the world if she wasn't where she was at the time. So it takes both situations to make it what it was. And I have a respect for everything she had done in the sport. And I mean, and it's always easy to be nice when you're the one who won.
Offering up a hand.
Yeah, but
I was very respectful towards her, but it does suck more when you're the one on the losing side and they're like hugging you and you're like, get the fuck off.
You don't want to be touched by them.
Stop. I know you're excited. I'm not.
But the aftermath, how she went through that deep depression. Did you ever blame yourself, or you're like, that's her journey? Absolutely. She has to get over it. She has to deal with it.
Absolutely. No, because if it wasn't her, it was me.
Right.
Like, that makes no sense. Both people sign up, they sign a contract, and you sign up for it. And everybody in this world, which, sorry to say this, but I think one of the biggest problems we have now is nobody wants to be responsible for themselves. They want everybody else to cater to them and take care of them. And do we need to listen to people when they reach out like that? With her speaking about her feelings, I'm glad she opened up, and I'm glad she had support system. That's different. I didn't feel responsible, right, but I was glad that people were paying attention and wanting to be there, because that is how life should be. Sometimes people can be down. It may not be anybody else's fault, but that doesn't mean we got to kick them while they're down.
Right.
Either. And so people are like going through shit in life. And yes, I'm glad that I felt bad she felt that way, but I did not feel responsible necessarily, because if it wasn't her, it's me.
Well, and right, like you said, everybody is responsible for their own emotions. But I was asking you this, have you ever heard from her to this day after that fight? I mean, because, I agree with you, it's on her, but essentially after that fight, and I think she fought Nunes right after that and lost, and then she retired from UFC, even though, she was the biggest female name at the time. Have you ever heard from her to this day?
No. And, there hasn't really been a time that we've run into each other. It's not like we've both been at a fight together, or there's not a time, and I know she doesn't want to go out of her way, to talk to me. And I have talked with some of the girls that I've fought before. Not a ton. The girl that knocked me out in boxing, and Sophie, after our rematch, we actually sat at the bar and drank beers and talked.
I love it.
That's amazing.
I have to say, Cyborg is terrifying. Like, I cannot picture going out with Cyborg in Vegas after
Absolutely not.
I'd be like, I'm sorry. I'm good.
I know that here's the thing with that fight. Like Cyborg, it doesn't bother me to go talk to her even after the fight. My ego hurts, my heart hurts because I didn't win the fight. That's one thing. But the fight was actually like a really close fight, and it was a really good battle. And I know my face had a, big black eye because I had a hematoma, but I really didn't have any injuries. It's just the big bruise. They call it hematoma. It's just bleeding, but it's bleeding on the inside.
Inside.
And he's like, cut me, Mick. Cut me.
I have two more questions around that fight, and then I want to talk about your mental toughness. But after that fight, does Dana White call you? And he's like, holy shit, you have what you guys did for UFC fighting, was he freaking out for a week? He should have been calling you for 3 weeks and buying you a Rolls Royce. I
actually think that it took a while for them to all kind of change their plans. And they didn't plan for me. I get along with Dana White very well, by the way. This is no no shit talking at all. I get along with him great. But they didn't see this happening. They saw her winning, and then maybe they'd set up another fight with Cyborg at the time. What the big fights were at the time. They had this whole thing, and I kind of just fucked up their plan.
Oh, yeah.
Bottom line. So I had a meeting, and I'm like, I had a meeting with them, and I'm like, and Dana White had done a lot for Ronda. Ronda did a lot for them.
Sure.
A lot of attention to the UFC. And I told them, I said, guys, I understand. This is frustrating. But we're here now.
Well, and amazingly, it's like, hello, anything can happen in sports. They didn't really think through what the scenario would be if you won. That is kind of crazy considering, Dana is a marketing genius. I would have thought there would have been a plan B.
Yeah. It was, no, they just didn't see it coming. I will be honest with that. I had a meeting with Sean Shelby, who was the matchmaker at the time. He's still a matchmaker, but he matchmakes for the heavier weights now. But and Dana White, I met with Sean Shelby in Vegas right after the fight, and then I also met with Dana White and kind of the whole team in Albuquerque after that. And it is one of those things. I told him, I said, I know that you didn't plan on all this, and I know that she's done a lot for you. You've done a lot for her, and I know that there's a respect there, and she's your friend. She was Dana's friend too. They had gone, you create these friendships, these relationships. And so I said, I know you didn't want to see it go down like that. I know you didn't want to see her lose like that, but it happened. I'm proud of it. I'm sorry, but I'm proud of it.
Hell yeah.
And he's like, well, yeah, I'm not mad at you. That's what you're supposed to do. That's your job. Like, we just had a kind of a raw, straightforward talk. And it was just one of those things. And, and I wish that I could have kept the title and ran through as long as she did. And that's my plan, is to get back to it. So, there's a whole thing. They gave me opportunities as well. And I fell short on some things, and I'm still working for it. I'm still going forward. I still want to get back to the title shot. So it's just that one thing about this job, bottom line, I don't care who you are, what position you're in, you never know what's going to happen. The future is so untold, and everything, you're so vulnerable.
Yeah.
There's a more vulnerable place to be than in a cage across from someone, because at the end of this fight, one's a loser, one's a winner. And if you lose, you drop to here. If you win, you go. Each fight, there's so much on the line.
I'm so amazed. How have you stayed so humble? Because I would have become Conor McGregor by now, and I would have gone in there and I would have demanded tons of shit, talked shit about everyone. What is your mantra in the morning, girl? Because we are.
Maybe I have to do more of that, because Conor McGregor, he's got it down. He doesn't only talk it; he acts it.
He acts cocky.
but he does it. He fights all the best guys. He doesn't talk shit and then shy away. A lot of fighters, what we call, are like paper champions. They only take like easy fights, so it looks good on paper. He takes all the best challenges, and he always has. And he talks it, but he also walks it. So for me, it's just a different kind of personality. I don't think that has anything to do with any kind of difference of how we feel. I still feel that I'm worth something, and I'm maybe more quiet about it than he is, but just different personalities. That's all.
Did he call you after that Ronda fight? I want to know who the biggest celebrity was that called you after that. But I would have loved, because I feel like Conor totally has this persona, but then behind the scenes is probably this somewhat sweet, maybe Irish guy. But I
have a lot of conversations with Conor, but I have seen him behind the scenes and had just quick hellos and things, and he's always been 100% respectful, and I have nothing but great things to say about him. After the fight, I never actually had a lot of people personally call right away, but the president tweeted about it, and whoever had the fight, I was didn't even know that he knew my name, And then there's there was other celebrities and other actors, and I'm not saying this is not getting into just because I said the president tweeted doesn't mean I'm getting into politics at all. I'm just saying, who would have thought that would happen, right? But I think the only one that I really talked on the phone to, my friend RD, is friends with Jamie Foxx, and he had called my phone and was like, hey, I was watching the fight with Jamie. He wanted to say congratulations, and he wants to be hospitable if you ever come into LA. No, come by. I was like, well, I was still in Australia, and I was like, well, I'm going to be there for the victory tour. And RD's like, I'll be here. Just call me. So we actually all went over and I'm one of those. That's the thing. And I will say, RD, he's known me for over 10 years. He knows how I am. And he says, hey, you want to do this? I'll be like, yeah. It's not just like talk, you know what I mean? And so
right.
I got to LA, I was like, so I'm in LA now. And this was only a couple days after. I never went home after the fight. I flew from Australia straight to California. And
yeah.
I had no clothes, so I had to go just buy everything there and then go, which the UFC gave me like a budget to go.
Hopefully a huge fat check. Yes, with a lot of serious. Hi, Dana. Yes, I'm going to need you to add some zeros. Yes.
Well, I did get the knockout bonus and the performance bonus of the night, so I'll take it.
Oh my God. I bet. Was that the highest paid fight you ever had? Did you end up making the most money from that?
In all honesty, no. The most I made was when I fought Miesha Tate, because it was different since I was already the champ then, and going into the fight,
you make even more at that point.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
That was the most I've made.
We know, and I know you're a private person. You don't always like to talk about your private life, but we do have to say, we think that you and Jamie Foxx should date now that you're single. I mean, we're just putting it out there, but you guys would look great together. I mean, would you ever date him? I know you're private, but I mean,
honestly, I'm really good friends with him.
What?
He's commenting on your hot pictures.
You are smoking hot. He's in your comments.
He and I actually, we're good friends. I'm just doing my own thing right now. I'm just single, but I mean, Jamie Foxx and I get along really well. We've actually become really good friends. We really have. Like I said, my friend RD works with him. Worked with him, they're like this. And so there's been times that, RD is like one of those people. I mean, I don't want to go as far as it, but he's like a brother kind of.
Yeah.
Like I've spent Christmas with him and the family up at their, this ranch, and I've known him for quite some time. And so there's times that he'll call and be like, hey, Hits, we gotta go. Killa, we got to go to the Super Bowl. You should be out here. And I'm like, okay, this is the day before the Super Bowl. I'm like, well, I text him and I was like, so RD, you know me, when you say like, hey, do you want to do this? I'll probably be like, okay, I'm coming. So I was like, hey, so when you say I should be there, do you mean that like as in you should be here at the Super Bowl because it'd be fun, or like, no, you really should be here, come like and go? And he's like, I'm telling you, get on the plane. And I was like, you're 100%, like I have a ticket and everything, like I'll go.
Okay.
This is 2 Super Bowls ago. And I was like, yeah, like and he just FaceTimes me and he goes, get your ass on the plane. I said, okay. And he's with all that group. So there's been plenty of times we've all hung out.
Right.
We had a good time and we're all friends. And I was in my car. I had no clothes. I had no shampoo conditioner. I had no brush. And the only flight that was there to fly me overnight was leaving within the hour. So I just had to go straight to the airport, and I had a pair of but I do this, RD knows this about me. Like, I'll just pick up the last minute.
RD sounds like the friend we all need. I mean, this is like an episode of The Hangover.
Yeah, as always. And I'm like, all right, I'll be there. So I just go straight to the airport. I had a pair of jeans, a pair of Converse, and a black tank. And I was like, yeah, that's good enough for the Super Bowl. So
You're the downest ass bitch. I love this. You're a down ass bitch. It's like, oh, I got some Converse. We're ready. We're gonna go to the Super Bowl. Like, I would have had to get an outfit, get some,
I got shampoo, conditioner at Hudson in the airport.
That's all I need. Yeah.
And I got a brush, and I was like, well, the hotel will probably have a blow dryer. But then I land in Atlanta, and I was like, I have no bra. I at least need a bra. I'm going, I can't go no bra, around.
Yeah, that would, I agree. Like, that one would be my limit too. Like, I need a bra.
I was with my friend. She was doing a photo shoot, like a boudoir shoot, and I told her I'd go with her to like. She's more reserved than me, and I'm like, do this, do that, stick it out. Like that's where I was at when I was like, she's like, I don't know what she loves football. She's like, I don't know what the hell you're doing here. I'd be going if I had an invite from them to be going to the Super Bowl. I'd be gone, and I was like, all right, I'll see you later. So
you pushed me over.
Shampoo, conditioner, everything at the airport. And then when I got to the Atlanta Mall, I was like walking out, I was like, man, I don't know. I better figure something out. I better think in the mall.
There you go.
Not in the mall, in the airport.
They got everything.
There we go. That's all I needed. And I was ready to go.
Holly, I know you had a difficult year in 2019 for a lot of personal reasons. Are you back dating? You know, going through a divorce, I have to imagine, is incredibly traumatic no matter what. So how is that going? Are you liking single life? Are you guys officially divorced? Like, how are things personally?
We're officially divorced. We have been for like a year and a half. It took about a year to get divorced. I know it was a big year. I know there was like losses, and I went through a divorce that year. But really, to be honest, the hardest years were the years before leaving.
Right.
So without like going into huge detail, like I was in a bad place in my marriage, big time. And so the hardest part was making that decision. Like, is this really good for me? Obviously it's against everything that I wanted for myself. Like I didn't get married to get divorced at all. So there was a lot going on there that was in my mind a lot a couple years before the actual divorce.
Yeah.
The actual divorce was probably actually just like, oh.
Right. Well, then you've made a decision, right? So it's like, okay, I finally made, you're right.
Not knowing what to do. I think that's the hardest part. And just being in some of the positions that I was in with a lot of that. It wasn't, I going through to the divorce, I lost a lot. My house, my dog, like a lot. Like there's, there's a lot. It's one of those things that it's like, but I'm just really happy where I'm at. I love where I'm at right now. I'm happy. I enjoy my life. I definitely don't want to owe anybody any explanations right now. So I'm enjoying just hanging out with my dog, not saying I don't flirt, not saying that I don't, like I still am very much, a free-spirited person. I'm also not one of those that's scarred. Some people go through a divorce and they're like, I hate men. I know there's so many good men out there. I'm not scarred. I'm not like a man hater. I know there's a lot of good ones out there, and I'm not like scarred to where I don't trust in someone or I don't like, that's not me at all. I definitely know that there's so many good things in life. And so, but I just enjoy tooting my own horn right now.
Yeah.
I like to just leave last minute. I like to do whatever I want. I'm a little selfish like that. And probably even more so now, 38. And like always kind of being like scheduled and, in a serious relationship or whatever, like the longest I've been single. And I don't know. I'm, like I said, it's not that I haven't talked to anybody. It's just, I'm
doing you.
You're doing you. What did you learn about yourself? Because I think every time a relationship ends for all of us, right, you end up learning a lot. And for someone like you that's been learning about yourself and mental toughness forever, it's like, what else does she have to learn? But what did that separation like teach you about yourself?
I think that, okay, so I'm like a really patient person, but once my patience out, like I don't have any.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I need to be, and not that my dad always said, don't start a habit you don't want to keep up. It's like if you're in a relationship, you're always doing something and then you're like annoyed at doing it. It's like, but you've always done it. So like, you can't be mad at them for expecting it because you've always done it. So you need to make sure, he's like, don't start a habit you don't want to keep up. And I always felt like I actually addressed a lot of issues along the way. And I learned I was too nice about it. Like, oh, this is breaking my heart. I really don't want this. Rather than like.
Yeah. Yes. You have to stand up for yourself.
Like I said it before, but I think I was just too nice that maybe they didn't think I was being serious. And I learned that sometimes you just got to tell them, listen up, buddy.
Yeah, fuck off. Do it. This is what I want. I also need things in my in this relationship. Absolutely.
I'm a give and take person, but I'll tell you what, I definitely, I'm one of those that like will give a lot and then, you know.
Do you think in your autobiography you're going to like tell it all? Because I like reading between the lines when I see you interviewed about this, because I'm like, oh, I know there's like some good juicy scoop there, but she's very, she's very classy. So she won't, I'd be out here trashing him left and right. But,
I honestly don't mind talking about it. I don't. But I also don't, I just look at it from the outside and I'm like, I don't want people to think that I'm coming out and like being catty about it. That's why I haven't really like just aired it all out. But I mean, there's some pretty shitty stuff.
Yeah, I get the vibe he was not a great guy there towards the end, whatever he was doing. And it's shitty, I know.
You only realize it in the end and you don't,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I got that vibe. And shitty that, I know he has a successful business in New Mexico, and yet you guys, obviously it sounds like you paid a price to some degree after working your ass off to give him, half your shit. It's like, it should really be that the men give us half the stuff, but we don't have to give them.
No. I'll just say this. Somebody asked you to sign a prenup. That might bite you in the ass later.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The prenup bit you in the ass. Oh, shit. I thought it would be the other way around. No. Oh, damn.
Yeah, so would I.
Okay. No, I don't like that.
So it doesn't matter. It's one of those things that it's like, I'm my own business, and his is a family business, so mine was only my money.
Right.
The laws only support certain things, and even though my business was still mine before, and it was still my sole separate property, there's a lot of things. But in the end, I'll tell you a few things. I am independent enough to move on my own. I still can support myself. And a lot of women out there have kids involved. Maybe they're a stay-at-home mom and they feel stuck. Like, how am I going to support myself? How am I going to move on? How am I going to take care of myself? And a lot of people are really stuck in bad positions. And so for me, it's like, I don't have any of that. I'm very blessed that I have independence and I have, like friends around me, and I don't have any hate or ill will holding on it. I really don't. And I'm being
totally honest. Yeah.
I feel like if you hold hate, well, then you're letting that kind of like govern how you feel. You're letting that like, control your happiness, your emotions, things like that. And so I've definitely made peace with it. I know that there's a lot of people that are in worse situations, so I'm not going to sit here and
you have a great attitude about it. And okay, so tell us this. Obviously that's the past. What are you looking for in a partner now? Because aside from Jamie Foxx, which we're really hoping that works out because we're going to podcast live from your wedding. Aside from that, what are you looking for? And I know you're sort of just taking your time, but if you could like wave a wand and kind of pick the person of your dreams, what would that look like?
There's no guessing. I know what I want to be myself. I'm kind of like stubborn and kind of alpha a little bit. And I want to be able to be that. I also want to be with someone who's like that. I don't
challenge you.
Someone who's a pushover. I want to be with someone who's confident, who is like, stands on their own 2 feet too.
Yeah.
And then they're going to tell me how they feel straight up.
Right.
To allow that on me and allow my voice to be spoken as well. And to like take life by the reins and like just go hard together. Like just go together. Like ride hard together.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Like I don't think it has to be one side or the other. I want to be able to still have my time with my girlfriends and have my alone time, and I like that. I'm still going to be part of my team. I have, there's definitely, I want to have fun together.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
It stops. It's like, why does that have to stop?
Yep.
It doesn't have to stop.
Do they need to be really athletic? Like they've got to be able to be at least active.
They have to be somewhat, only because, not because it's a judgment thing. It's
right.
that it's just a common
thread in your life. Yeah.
That we're going to see things probably more evenly if we both kind of are interested in the same thing. So if they're into being active, then it doesn't have to necessarily be a certain sport or anything, but like, it would have to be somebody who wants to be active, because I feel like that's just a similarity in being compatible. That has nothing to do with like, oh, if you don't work out, you're not good for me. No, it's just that there's probably something that is more compatible with different types of people. And I'm not like a total health freak. Trust me, I still love my French fries and my cocktails here and there. And like, so I want to be able to be free, have fun like that.
I saw you drinking from a McDonald's cup, and I thought to myself, she goes to McDonald's? There's hope for me.
There's water in there.
Okay, you have been amazing. We know you are a very busy woman, but we have rapid fire of questions that we want to know. First, we want to know what you do with your hair. We're obsessed with your hair. It's like, is it naturally this color blonde? And what shampoo and conditioner do you use?
Okay, well, naturally it's a little darker. It's like a strawberry blonde. I do put a little bit of highlights in it. Right now it is kind of rough. Like it's I don't know what happened here, but I'll show you. Hold on. You see?
I mean, it looks super healthy.
It looks great.
You see how this is shorter than this?
Yep.
Right.
I don't know what happened to it. It was all one length. I think either in grappling it got ripped out, and there's a lot of it actually that's short. So we gotta let this grow out. But shampoo, conditioner, I'm not too particular about. I'll use Pantene, I'll use Biolage, it doesn't really matter, but my conditioner, so I'll use, there's like a certain, what's it called? It's like a big purple one. It's Pureology.
Okay, yep.
Pureology, when my hair's like super tangly and I can't like get knots out of it. That's one of my favorites, but also can give a buildup. It's like real thick, so I don't use it all the time. Biolage, the purple lid one. I don't even know.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, I love Biolage. Yep.
There's a B2B one that actually works pretty good. And is it not Thermosilk or whatever? So that one.
More expensive conditioners.
Yeah, we love that. All right, another question. Any plans to retire, and what will you do when you do retire? You want to get into film? I want you to have a reality show where you go out hunting with your parents, or be legit. You and Jamie Foxx in Hollywood, and then you take him hunting. What's next?
I'll take notes. I like that.
Me, he's hot. You guys would be so good together.
Only I would go with my mom is like she just got a prong head like 3 days ago. She just sent me a picture. My mom's a crazy hunter.
Well, do people give you shit for that, by the way? In this era where people are like, hype, I don't know, they're all over your shit all the time. Do people give you backlash for being like a good hunter?
For sure. I put stuff with my mom before, and they say, it's like, you guys know when you go to Thanksgiving dinner, like the turkey came from somewhere.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Like, stop. It's not animal cruelty. Actually, the way my mom hunts is the most humane way to do it. It's crazy. People get so upset. It's like, yes, I eat meat. I'm going to show you this. I don't know if this was my mom. Can you see that?
Yes. Okay. What is this? Is this a deer? No, it's bigger than that, right?
It's a pronghorn. This was my mom like 2 days ago.
Did she kill that with a bow and arrow? That is 2 days. That is fucking badass. No wonder you can get hit by Cyborg. I mean, this woman's out here with a bow and arrow taking this thing down.
65, and she goes hunting on her own half the time.
65, nothing's stopping her.
Nothing.
People want to know, by the way, could you fight and win? Could you beat a UFC male fighter, do you think?
Could I be a what?
Could you beat a UFC male fighter?
Obviously, the weights would have to be similar, but...
Yeah, you know what? There's a lot of... obviously anybody can have a good day or a bad day in there, and there's certain fighters that it's like, I feel like I could do this or that, to them. But by the time they're in the UFC, they should be at a point where, they should be a hard one. But yeah, I think that there's sometimes that it's like, yeah, there's men out there that I can beat, but I'm not one of those that's like, they are stronger. So even at 135, a 135 male is going to have a different kind of strength than that's why there's male and female.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm not one of those. Yes, do I think that there's some men out there that I can beat? I do. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I could be the champ at like, this weight. You know what I mean?
Who do you think? Definitely. By the way, though, if you had to pick one person, who do you think it would be that you could potentially have a good match with?
I ain't throwing names out.
I think it could be.
People are going to be like,
isn't Conor McGregor a little guy? We can get him down to 138 pounds. You know, I mean, we'll give him a few shots of whiskey.
Still going to be stronger.
Well, and crazier. That's what I told you yesterday when I talked to you. You're not crazy enough. Like these people are amazing. I mean,
definitely crazy.
I have to go in a ring and be like, yes, I want to get beat up.
I'm also like not going to just throw like what I try is different. But like I'll take the fight with plenty of people and give it a try. I'm crazy enough to try it, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I could be the champ at this weight or that weight against all the men or anything like that. Would I try? Absolutely. I would try.
Oh, go ahead, AJ.
Oh, I was going to ask her about off season, like what it looks like versus on season. Are you working out every day? Are you multiple hours a day? Or can you actually take a break?
I work out all the time just because I don't want to get into training camp and then I'm starting training camp thinking, oh my gosh, I'm starting from square one. I'm so out of shape and I feel like shit. And it's like a lot of times you do that. You get more injuries in training because you're not in shape, you're not ready. I definitely don't go as hard, you know, and I actually enjoy training more when I don't have a fight because you don't have like the anxiety.
The pressure, yeah.
I love to go spar. I'll do however many rounds I feel like doing, and then if that's good enough, I'm not going to push myself too hard today. I wanted to work on a few things, and I still run pretty often. Like I run every week still, like when I'm not in training
off
camp.
Season. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll still hit miss with my coach here and there, not as much as when I'm in camp. I don't know. I just feel like I actually do more strength training outside of camp than I do in camp because the closer I get to a fight, I don't want to. My strength should be there. The last 3 weeks, what I do 2 weeks before a fight may not necessarily make me stronger in the fight. The strength should already have been built. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to take away from my quality of training. Like I'd rather put my energy into sparring. And you know, if you go do a heavy lift and then try and go spar, you're not going to be as fresh. The quality of training is not going to be as great. So
I have just 2 more questions and then we'll let you go. What would be your one piece of advice for women to become champions in their own lives, whatever their industry is, whatever their, whatever their internal battle or championship that they are trying to get? Because I think your mindset is just something to be admired and studied. So what would you say to women?
What I think is the biggest thing, there's like 3 things I think that are really big. If you want it and you say you want it, then do what it takes. A lot of people say I want that, but then, you know.
They're not willing to put the work in.
Yeah. So if you really want it, do what it takes.
Oh.
And then in doing what it takes, be patient. In the jump and they go and then like, if it doesn't happen overnight, they're frustrated. And it's like, especially if you're going to do MMA, you start fighting for free. And then your first fight, I got paid $500. Like, you're not going to make a career of fighting off the jump. It takes time to learn it. And so you have to be there and dedicate without a lot of return yet. So you have to be patient for it to happen. I think that that's the case with a lot of jobs, though. You're not going to be running a business the first day you walk on the job. If you do that, it's because you've already ran the business somewhere else and they hired you, right?
Yes.
You got to get there first. And so I think that you've got to have the patience for it. And a lot of people get impatient, and they're like, hey, you go for something else. And it's like, you're almost there, man. Why didn't you stick with it?
God, that's so good. Yep.
So I feel like I think the hardest thing is finding what you want. I think that's the hardest thing.
Yep.
Once you know, then do what it takes and be patient for it to take the natural steps to get there.
All right. We're in love with you. I mean, we could talk to you forever. We cannot.
You're amazing.
Wait.
I want you to be my inspirational coach, my life coach, everything. I mean,
is Mike Winklejohn taking on 2 podcasters from DC? I mean, we need the mental training. We want to come train with Mike for a week.
Hey, you guys, you can come down anytime for fun, but I already know you guys are some solid, good strong-willed, strong-minded women.
Okay, and back in the day, Papa John's tried to poison Michael Jordan right before a big game. Do you want us to send Irene Aldana a pizza with some sort of laxative on it right before October 3rd? We're down for you, girl. Whatever you need.
I appreciate that support. I definitely want her at her best, because in beating her,
good point.
Will even be sweeter.
Okay, good.
I appreciate that support, though. I love you guys.
We got your back. You are just so fucking inspiring for women. We're so excited for your future, and
Truly.
You're going to have another championship. We know it. And what a prediction from your father. I mean, he's a gem as well.
He's definitely. There's been a lot of things I have to say that was going to be a lot harder for me to go through life without my parents, and honestly, my family and my friends are the belief of my team and my coaches, the guidance from my dad and my mom, and the hardcore biggest fans that my brothers are.
Oh, wow!
Well, fuck yes, sis.
You got to have a support system. I feel like that's the biggest part.
And you know what? Some people don't have that, but that doesn't mean they can't either. It's that at least weed out the people that poison your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Surround yourself with a great team of people. And you've done that. Well, Holly, the fight is October 3rd with Irene Aldana. We cannot wait. We are praying for you and watching you and supporting you.
Appreciate you so much.
Of course at UFC. Holly, people can follow you on your Instagram, which is at Holly Holm.
At Holly Holm.
All right. Awesome.
And we saw that you have amazing merch, which I was going to bring up. So everybody can go and purchase the merch from Team Home.
Yeah. So it's if you go to my Instagram, you can just click on the link and it goes there.
Boom.
Okay, I love that. I'm going to need a crop hoodie. I need to get abs first, but yeah.
Mess around and do a couple other designs as we go. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my God.
Love it.
We got hats. I love it.
Holly, you're amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Love you, Holly. Thank you so much.
You are great. Oh my God.